On the day of our engagement party, my fiancée solemnly accepted a Venmo payment for $9.99 from her childhood sweetheart right in front of me. She turned to me, her smile a perfect practice curve. "Ethan, you're putting up the real money for our future. Caleb would never overstep that. We promised each other we'd be together since we were kids," she continued, a faint blush dusting her cheeks, as if she were confessing a deep, abiding love for me. You showing up. That was the exception in my life. Then, the final blow. We'll get the marriage license, you and I, but we'll have to upgrade the master bedroom to a California king. Otherwise, it's going to be a little crowded. The room went dead silent. You could feel everyone in the private dining room trying to process what she just said. My hand tightened around the cashier's check in my jacket pocket. $99,000. It was everything my dad and I had. Our entire life savings. My voice came out flat, mechanical. "You're not serious, are you?" Lily's beautiful eyes widened in mock surprise. "Of course I'm serious. Do I look like the kind of person who makes jokes at a time like this? I'm telling you this today because I genuinely want to build a life with you, Ethan. But I can't just break my promise to Caleb. You can understand that, right?" Looking at the expectant hope in her eyes, I slid the check back into my pocket. Then I reached out and flipped the damn table over. "Understand you? Go to hell." One Lily shrieked. Are you insane? Do you still want to get engaged or not?" I'm the insane one. After she said something like that, to my face, handing me a green light to my own cuckolding and expecting me to just put on the ring? I rolled up my sleeves and pointed a shaking finger at her. "The only reason I'm not knocking your teeth out is because we live in a society with laws. What century do you think this is? You think you're some kind of queen with a royal harem. You want to be trashy, fine, but I'm not, and I damn sure don't want to be with someone who is." I snatched the 3 velvet boxes containing the engagement ring and wedding bands off the floor and turned to leave. Lily's parents finally snapped out of their stupor, blocking my path. "Ethan, calm down," her mother pleaded, grabbing my arm. She's a very sentimental person." Her father, Mr. Vance, rounded on Lily. "Get over here and apologize right now. Do you have any idea what today is?" "Why would you say that?" He sounded furious with her, but I heard the subtext. He wasn't mad at what she did, just the timing. I cut straight to it. "So you knew about this? You were okay with it?" Mr. Vance adopted the warm, fatherly expression he always used with me. "Ethan, son, we've known Caleb since he was in diapers. They grew up together. It's only natural that Lily can't let him go." He then delivered the line with an air of explaining the world to a child. "In our circle, it's quite common for a wealthy woman to have more than one man in her life. That patronizing tone, the world you just don't understand. I may have come from a blue-collar family, but didn't basic human decency get taught in public schools everywhere?" Mr. Vance continued, as if granting me a great favor. "Don't worry. I'll make sure that the heir to Vance Technologies is yours and yours alone." So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Before I could answer, Lily stomped over, her face a mask of indignation. Through gritted teeth, she muttered, "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have brought it up like this. There, are you happy now?" She shot me a glare. I used to love that little flash of temper. When she'd glare at me or playfully smack my arm, it always felt so soft, so adorable. Now it just made my stomach turn. I looked at the whole family, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "You'll guarantee my kid? What? Are you going to personally supervise the conception? Is that another perk of your circle I'm not familiar with? Sounds fascinating. I'm not sure I'd fit in." Mr. Vance's face was a priceless picture of controlled fury. Two can play at this game. He was composed, but Lily wasn't. She raised her hand to slap me. Back when we were dating, she'd cultivated this pure, innocent image. Caleb was never even mentioned. But she always had that fiery temper, that tendency to get physical when she was mad, which I found endearing. Not anymore. I caught her wrist, pushed her off balance, and slapped her back. Hard. A red welt bloomed on her perfect porcelain cheek. "You hit me," she gasped, stunned. "Do I need to make an appointment?" I sneered. "Get away from me." The disbelief on her face was absolute. I'd never stood up to her before. Her father was frantically signaling to her from behind me. Lily's expression flickered through a series of emotions before landing on a look of profound, martyred sacrifice. Fine, Ethan, she said, her voice trembling. It was my fault. If you're not okay with it, then fine. I'll handle Caleb. She stood there as if she'd just moved mountains for me, as if she were the one making the ultimate sacrifice. The hypocrisy was nauseating. My story with Lily was supposed to be a classic Cinderella story, except I was the one in rags. I saw her my freshman year of college and was instantly smitten. Lily didn't give me the time of day back then, but after I started winning major hackathons and coding competitions, her father showed up with her in tow. He invited me to join Vance Technologies. I knew the company was on the verge of bankruptcy, but this was an offer for my dream girl. I was determined to be the genius who turned it all around. Joining the company was a whirlwind, and becoming Lily's boyfriend felt like the natural next step. I thought I was the luckiest guy in the world. Turns out I was just the chosen fool. Looking back, it's hard to say how much of Lily's love was real. How much value did I create for their company over the years? We first got together right after I landed a massive government contract that single-handedly saved Vance Technologies from going under. Holding hands, our first kiss, the first time we slept together. Every milestone in our relationship seemed to coincide with a major win for my portfolio. This engagement? She finally agreed to it after I secured the revolutionary patent for the Kronos project. Thinking about it now, I couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. You know, Lily, if you're going to sell yourself, you could at least drop the high and mighty act. The mask of deep affection she wore finally cracked. But she caught herself, probably remembering she had to maintain her torn between two loves persona. She bit her lip and hissed, "Don't think you can act like this just because I chose you, Ethan." Mr. Vance stepped in front of her. His voice was grave, dripping with faux wisdom. "Ethan, I know it's hard to accept that Lily loves two people at once, but at least she does love you. If this engagement falls apart today, think of the scandal. How will our family save face?" I laughed coldly. Save face? What? Is basic morality optional in your tax bracket? If you told me from the start that she was incapable of monogamy, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Don't talk to me about saving face. I'm the one who got humiliated today, not you. Your family's reputation is made of Teflon. I'm just a guy with actual feelings. Lily glared at me, furious. Her parents looked at me like I was an ungrateful child turning down a gift. The only person in this room who was probably happy was that spineless wonder, Caleb. After graduation, I poured my entire life into Vance Technologies. I never cared about my salary. It's pathetic, really. Part of that $99,000 was from my dad, who had to secretly take out a loan against his house. Everyone said I'd hit the jackpot, marrying into a wealthy family right out of college. But what was the reality? I took a deep breath. The past was a sunk cost, but the future was still mine. I pulled out my phone, scrolled through a mountain of work emails, and found the one I'd been ignoring. It was the standing offer from Vance's biggest competitor. I typed a simple reply. "I can start tomorrow." Lily's voice was sharp, laced with menace. "Don't make this ugly, Ethan. Wrecking this engagement won't do you any good. Remember, your bonus is tied directly to the company's stock price." It was a threat, plain and simple. How'd I never seen it before? In the past, whenever a project hit a snag, she'd say something similar, but always wrapped in a softer package. "Because of the project losses, we can't afford your full commission this month. You understand, right?" And just like that, a month of my work would be reduced to my base salary of $1,800. I never once complained. I thought she was just being a responsible business owner. Now I see it for what it was, a classic capitalist power play. A compliance test. And today's little stunt was just the ultimate version of that. Her and her father saying the exact same things. How had I been so blind? I just laughed. "Lily, you never loved me at all, did you?" "I do love you," she said, without a flicker of hesitation. Hilarious. Threatening my livelihood 1 second, professing her undying love the next. In that moment, it finally sank in. The last few years of my life, my youth, my passion, all of it fed to a pack of wolves. "If I were you," I said, my voice dangerously quiet, "I'd be more worried about what happens to Vance Technologies' stock price after you and I are done here." A small, cruel smile played on my lips. "I wonder how many people in that company of yours can actually do my job." Suddenly, I wasn't in a hurry to leave anymore. Lily's eyes widened. "What are you talking about? Business is business, and personal is personal. Don't you have any professional integrity? Her father nodded in agreement. I shot back. Oh, and you were being the model of professionalism when you were threatening me just now. The hypocrisy was astounding. You're right, I said with a shrug. I'm not very professional, which is why I quit. Effective immediately. At the word quit, Mr. Vance looked far more panicked than his daughter. Ethan, my boy, let's not be hasty. If you two can't make it work personally, that's one thing. But you can't turn your back on your career, on this kind of money. Suddenly, I was his boy again. Lily, however, was still defiant. Let him quit, Dad. Who cares? As if anyone else in Austin would hire him. That'd be like declaring war on us. She whispered it, but we all heard her clearly. The father-daughter duo, good cop and bad cop. Too bad for them. I was no longer the love-struck idiot they could manipulate. Caleb, seizing his moment, puffed out his chest. Don't worry, sir. I studied abroad, you know. Just give me some time, and I'm sure I could take over his projects. He shot me a smug, triumphant look. Mr. Vance paused, clearly not thrilled at the prospect of Caleb calling him sir with such familiarity. He glanced at Lily, who gave him a reassuring nod. So Caleb was her backup plan. I wondered just how reliable that backup plan was. With her father's silent approval, Lily's eyes hardened. Ethan, after all these years, the last thing I want to do is blacklist you. But if you insist on this, don't blame me for being ruthless. Her voice was cold, stripped of any warmth we'd ever shared. It was the voice of a pure-blooded capitalist. I'd seen that ruthlessness in business, how they played their cards in high-stakes project bids. If Vance's main rival wasn't ready with a countermove, going up against the Vance family alone would be corporate suicide. But what choice did I have? Get engaged to a woman who wanted an open marriage on my dime. Have my intimate life tied to my quarterly performance reviews. My entire moral compass screamed no. Just as I was about to tell them to do their worst, a crisp, clear voice cut through the tension, and the color drained from every Vance family face in the room. Blacklist him? That's an adorable, last-century term. For talent like Mr. Hayes, the doors of Shaw Innovations are always open. The newly appointed CEO of their biggest rival, Veronica Shaw, strode toward me on a pair of killer red stilettos. We took the liberty of drawing this up for you, she said, handing me a leather-bound portfolio. Her eyes, bright and sharp, were full of undisguised calculation. They seemed to say, see, we're so much better than them. I opened the portfolio. It was an official offer of employment. The irony hit me. This was the first real job offer I'd ever received. At Vance Technologies, I'd never even signed a contract. Ethan's salary is high, they had said. The taxes are a killer. Lily can just zell you your pay every month. It's better for everyone. And I, like a fool, had agreed without a second thought. Veronica Shaw, Lily's voice was venomous. This is my engagement party. I don't recall inviting you. Is Shaw Innovations going bankrupt? Are you here for the free food? Veronica didn't even bother to look at her. Please, do you really think a pathetic jab like that can get under my skin? Words are the most useless weapon in your arsenal. Her gaze settled on me, deep and penetrating. If it weren't for Mr. Hayes, you think I'd waste my time watching this pathetic spectacle? Marrying a man who values you at $9.99. The whole city will be laughing at you. So much for not engaging in a war of words. Veronica was sharper than a surgeon's scalpel. I met her eyes and felt an unexpected sense of security. I had a feeling this woman could help me fight back. She gave me a subtle nod. So, I hear you're a free agent. No non-compete, no messy contracts. Care for a ride? My car is right outside. We can have an office cleared for you at headquarters in 30 minutes. She never mentioned Vance Technologies by name, but every word was a calculated blow. After all my years of bleeding for that company, I still worked out of the same cramped cubicle I started in. The head of R&D, the de facto COO, a man second only to the board, and I didn't even have my own office. I extended my hand. Our palms met. Pleasure doing business with you. The pleasure is all mine. We smiled. Smart people don't need long conversations. Veronica's smile was genuine, triumphant. She took my arm and started leading me out. Stop, Mr. Vance shouted, his composure finally cracking. Ethan, everyone knows Shaw is ruthless. Their whole company is built on nepotism. You think a guy like you, with no connections, can get anywhere over there? I laughed. If my main concern was getting ahead, I never would have joined a dying company like yours in the first place. I paused, then added, but maybe I should thank you. You've taught me a valuable lesson. For a man, building a career is far more important than chasing a fantasy. And out of gratitude, I feel I should warn you, Mr. Vance. Honey traps and sleeping your way to the top. Those kinds of cheap tricks don't build a lasting empire. As I walked out of the banquet hall with Veronica, I glanced back one last time at Mrs. Vance, who hadn't said a word the entire time. Your husband is quite a man, Mrs. Vance. All those years, swallowing his pride for the company. Such a sacrifice. It's a shame, really. My last name is Hayes. We don't have a gene for pimping out our women for a business deal. Her face went pale. Lily and her father flinched. In that instant, I realized something. To destroy Vance Technologies, I didn't need to fight over the patents I developed. The family's dirty laundry was far more explosive. The older generation's personal lives were a complete mess. Before I came along, Mrs. Vance had been the one to bring in most of their big projects, and it was an open secret how she did it. The terrifying part was that both she and her husband saw it as normal. Talent was the one thing Vance Technologies lacked. Beauty was their true weapon. I sneered. Underneath that innocent facade, Lily was the perfect product of her parents' combined strengths, shamelessly announcing her plans for an open marriage. In Veronica Shaw's company, accused of nepotism? Maybe that's because the Shaw family was just competent. Every time I'd gone head-to-head with them on a project, I'd had to pull all-nighters just to be on an even footing. 5 escorted by Veronica's security, we made it out of the hotel without incident. Sitting in the plush leather seat of her black SUV, I felt a wave of exhaustion wash over me. My phone rang. The name on the screen made a hot spike of shame shoot through me. I answered. Ethan, how'd it go? Everything goes smoothly? When are you bringing Lily home for dinner? My dad's gruff, cheerful voice boomed through the speaker. He wasn't even upset that Lily had insisted my parents not attend the engagement party. Her excuse had been so plausible. They're all titans of industry, honey. I'm just worried your dad would feel out of place. Her words seemed so considerate at the time. Lost in the joy of her finally saying yes, I hadn't noticed the flash of contempt in her eyes. I remember my dad, just before he left to go back home to Ohio, looking like he wanted to say something more. But all he said was, You and Lily, just be happy. If you're happy, I'm happy. I wanted to punch myself in the face. Veronica tapped the back of my seat, pulling me from my thoughts. Dad, I said, choosing my words carefully. Something came up with work. We had to postpone the engagement for a bit. I couldn't tell him the truth. Not yet. I was the golden boy who'd escaped our small town, the first in our family to make it big. The whole town was watching me. For years, despite my success, there were always people whispering to my dad that I was just a kept man, living off a rich girl. And now, the rich girl was gone, and so was my job. I couldn't let him worry until I had my feet back on the ground. Veronica gave me a questioning look. After I hung up, a sly smile touched her lips. Still have a soft spot for her. I scoffed. Not a chance. My dad's been waiting for this day for years. If I just dropped the whole truth on him right now. Hell, I'm still trying to digest how much of a train wreck that was. Veronica frowned. She probably couldn't understand. Her family was a fortress of power and competence. But for regular people like us, marriage wasn't just a merger or a lifestyle accessory. It was a cornerstone of your life. One bad move, and your whole world could be thrown off kilter. That's why our parents' generation took it so seriously. 6, we arrived at the Shaw Innovations Tower, and I spent the entire afternoon in a conference room with Veronica. My initial plan was to offer her 6 months of my future salary in exchange for 2 weeks of her legal team's time. But Veronica shot it down. Our lawyers don't just protect the company, she said. They protect our employees. Once you're on board, every patent you developed that rightfully belongs to you, we'll get it back. I was stunned. Getting the patents back wouldn't be impossible on my own, but it would be a brutal fight. I was worried Vance Technologies would play dirty, and I couldn't win a war of attrition against them alone. Beyond the patents, I wanted to report them for tax evasion. And finally, I wanted to sit back and watch them try to claw their way back up using the only tool they had left, their looks. At the end of our meeting, Veronica tossed me a key card. I looked at it, confused. Corporate apartment, she explained. It's one of the standard units. Once you start bringing in revenue, You can apply for one of the executive suites. It's fully furnished, but you'll have to get your own clothes. She was efficient, practical, and had thought of everything. Thank you, I said, genuinely moved. She waved a hand dismissively. Don't thank me yet. If you don't deliver for this company, I'll be the first one to show you the door. The pressure was immense, but it was exactly the motivation I needed. By the time I was settled in, everything was ready. A spacious corner office at Shaw Innovations. A legal team on standby. My own personal war was about to begin. The battle for my patents dragged on, a messy war of legal filings. But the investigation into Vance Technologies' finances moved at lightning speed. At first, the rumors were that Mrs. Vance was seen meeting with several powerful, older men. Then, Lily was forced to join the circuit. And their supposed technical backup, Caleb, the guy I thought might have at least some skill, turned out to be completely useless. When I started poaching my old team, offering them positions at Shaw, Caleb was powerless to stop them. The moment my lead engineers walked out, Vance's entire network crashed, and Caleb's only solution was to keep telling everyone to reboot the system. Mr. Vance screamed at him. Caleb just cried. Vance Technologies was in total chaos. It took 2 full weeks to untangle myself from my personal vendettas and finally dive into core development at Shaw. I was working late, putting the finishing touches on my first major project, when I went down to the parking garage at 2 a.m. Lily was there, huddled against a concrete pillar, looking exhausted. In just a month, the innocent, carefree girl I knew had vanished. Her face was harder, and there was a strange, predatory allure in her eyes that I'd never seen before. One second she was on her phone, laughing and flirting with someone, and the next she saw me, and her expression went cold. She hung up and blocked my path, her face grim. Ethan, are you done with this little tantrum? Tantrum? I asked, incredulous. She stood there with that old air of superiority, as if she were offering me a final chance to come to my senses. I just laughed and tried to walk around her. She grabbed my arm. Stop. If you come back to Vance now, we can forget this ever happened. I got rid of Caleb. From now on, it will only be you. Are you satisfied? I wrenched my arm away. Could you please stop making me sick? The last thing on earth, I want us to talk about feelings with you. You know what it feels like? It's like being force-fed a pile of crap, and then having the crap ask you if you miss it. Her face flushed with rage. She raised her hand to hit me again. I caught it easily. She was like a cornered animal, all bluster and no bite. The bodyguards who used to follow her everywhere were gone. The less you bother me, the faster I can forget what you did, I said, my voice low. And the less I remember, the less I'll hate you. But if you keep showing up and pulling these stunts, I really do worry for what's left of your company. What else could you possibly do? She seethed. You've already ruined us. Is this not enough for you? Ethan Hayes, do you have a conscience? Do you really think Vance Technologies didn't have a hand in making you who you are today? I loosened my tie, feeling suffocated. I didn't answer. Every word I spoke to her felt like poison. But she wasn't done. Fine, she snapped. Forget the past. Just now, my dad called me. He was asking why you were working so late. What do you think I should tell him? 7. I whipped my head around and stared at her. Lily smiled, a cruel, satisfied twist of her lips. You know, you have the exact same expression my dad gets when he sips my bitter pour-over coffee. Your eyebrows all furrowed, your eyes wide like you're thinking, what is this poison? She giggled, covering her mouth with her hand. She looked like a demon. I pulled out my phone and called my dad. Hey, Ethan. His voice came through, warm and familiar. Lily want to pick you up. Did you see her? I told her not to go. A young woman out so late by herself. It's not safe. I calmed him down as best I could and hung up. Lily dangled a car key from her finger. Don't bother calling for help. You had time to make a call. So did I. The threat in her eyes was unmistakable. My blood ran cold. Are you driving, or am I? I snatched the key from her hand. When we got to the Vance mansion, I tore through the house like a madman, but my dad was nowhere. The entire Vance family was sitting in the living room, watching me, their faces calm and composed as I gasped for breath. I had never felt so humiliated, so powerless, but I didn't care. Where is he? Where did you take my father? Mr. Vance smiled, a chilling, humorless expression. Not so fast. Sign these first. He pushed a stack of documents across the coffee table. I scanned them. Transfer of patent ownership. And you want me to take the fall for your tax fraud? Be smart about this, Ethan, Mr. Vance said coldly. Sign them, or your father might not live to see tomorrow's sunrise. My hands were shaking as I picked up the pen. Every eye in the room was on me, hungry and desperate. But I didn't sign. I took a deep breath. I want to see my dad. I need to know he's safe. Mr. Vance snapped his fingers. A live feed appeared on the massive television screen. My dad was in a lavish, unfamiliar room, pacing back and forth. His shoulders were stooped, his posture betraying his anxiety. He kept glancing toward the window. He must have been terrified. I closed my eyes, a wave of regret washing over me. Where is that? I demanded. How do I know you haven't heard him? How do I know that's not a deep fake? Mr. Vance didn't answer, but Lily did, her voice sharp with impatience. Are you blind? It's the waterfront property. The villa that was supposed to be our marital home. Oh, the one at 1 Azure Springs. Lily didn't reply, but her silence was confirmation. A wave of grief, real or feigned, washed over my face. I designed the security system for that house myself. I worked for 3 straight months on it to make sure it was perfect. The master override codes are still on my laptop. Lily stared at me, confused. Lily, I said, my voice thick with emotion, do you have any idea how much I was looking forward to our life together? I covered my face with my hands, pretending to sob. In reality, I was making sure the call I'd secretly placed to Veronica Shaw was still connected, and that my phone was recording everything. When I looked up again, my eyes met hers. I forced every ounce of fake sincerity I could muster into my voice. You still haven't given me a real apology. Not once. Lily, was I ever anything to you at all? She looked stunned. Mr. Vance looked wary. The old fox tested the waters. Ethan, what are you getting at? I squeezed a single tear from the corner of my eye. My gaze locked on Lily. These patents, you think I care about them? I don't give a damn if Vance Technologies lives or dies. You never once understood what I really wanted. Lily, do you even have a heart? Mr. Vance pressed again, unable to resist. So you'll sign it all? Of course I'll sign, I said, my voice laced with defeat. I was planning on laying low at Shaw, getting my hands on their new project files, and then I cut myself off. But what's the point now? I sighed. It was always you. I was a fool. You still love her? Mr. Vance asked, his eyes suddenly gleaming. I didn't nod or shake my head. I just kept my lovesick, broken gaze fixed on Lily. He looked back and forth between us, weighing the odds. He pushed the confession statement forward. If you love her, you'll sign this. It was you who orchestrated the tax evasion scheme. All you. But Lily, surprisingly, was the one who saw through it. She frowned. Dad, don't fall for it. This isn't the same Ethan who used to do whatever I said. She was right about that. Ding. A text message notification chimed on my phone. I glanced down. My heart settled. I looked up again. You're right, I said to her. So why in the world would I sign a confession this stupid? I flicked the pen in my hand, sending it spinning through the air. It hit Lily square in the forehead. You, she sputtered enraged. Then what was all that garbage you were just saying? Mr. Vance slammed his fist on the table. It's a trap. On the TV screen, the door to the villa burst open, and uniformed police officers swarmed in, gently escorting my father out. Veronica Shaw appeared in the frame. She looked directly into the security camera and gave a little wave. I started to laugh. Outside the mansion, sirens began to wail. I clutched the documents Mr. Vance had tried to force on me. The audio recording on my phone was still running. Everything I needed to bury them for good. You were stalling, Mr. Vance shrieked, pointing a trembling finger at me. I smiled. What else? You really think I'd still be interested in your daughter after she's been passed around by half the city? No one answered. The police stormed in, and the Van Cess composure shattered. It's a misunderstanding. Officer, it's a misunderstanding. Mr. Vance babbled. We were about to be family. This is just a domestic dispute. I held up my phone and played the recording loud and clear for the officers to hear. Be smart about this, Ethan. Sign them, or your father might not live to see tomorrow's sunrise. Mr. Vance's face turned ashen. I looked him dead in the eye. My last name is Hayes. This isn't a domestic dispute. You're not my family. The police quickly apprehended Mr. Vance and Lily. Mrs. Vance had been sitting on the couch the whole time, a silent, emotionless statue. But just as they were escorting her husband out the door, he screamed, "Elaine, the safe at the penthouse. Number 1. That seemed to break her. Mrs. Vance's body began to tremble. "Officer," she said, her voice shaking but clear, "I'd like to report my husband, Robert Vance, for bribery through sexual favors." Mr. Vance's scream echoed from the doorway. "Are you crazy? If the company goes down, you go down with it." Lily started screaming at her, too. "Mom, can't you just stay out of it for once?" Mrs. Vance crumpled to the floor, sobbing, tears streaming through her fingers. She looked up at Lily, her eyes filled with a terrifying rage. "You weren't the one who suffered. You have no right to say that to me." The officers moved to take her in for questioning as well. When a female officer gently touched her arm, Mrs. Vance shrieked and recoiled. The shawl on her shoulders slipped off, revealing arms covered in bruises and what looked like burn marks. Her eyes met mine, and she let out a howl of pure, abject despair. I found out later what happened. After the tax fraud investigation started, Mr. Vance had sent his wife to a mysterious benefactor to try and smooth things over. The man was a sadist. Mrs. Vance had begged her husband not to make her go, but he was unmoved. He even threatened her, saying if she refused, he would send Lily instead. The final, sickening twist? It had been Lily's idea in the first place. A family of psychopaths. They all ended up in prison. A perfect family reunion. The day Vance Technologies officially declared bankruptcy, I moved my dad to Austin. With the bonus from my first project at Shaw and my recovered savings, I bought us a small house. I became a key player at Shaw Innovations. Rumors started to circulate that the CEO, Veronica Shaw, had a personal interest in me. I just smiled whenever I heard them. Life wasn't a fairy tale. Not everyone gets to marry the princess. Veronica was brilliant, strategic, and rational. I was just a bird from a small town who had finally learned to fly a little higher on my own.